Hello everyone, myself Sharmila Arodia from GCW Bhiwani. Today we will discuss about refractional diffraction by rectangular slit and circular aperture. Let's first we discuss about diffraction at rectangular slit. Consider a rectangular slit AB illuminated by a monochromatic source of light. Let XY be the cylindrical wavefront incident on the slit AB. The diffraction pattern will depend upon the actual width of the slit. Okay. Suppose let's first we discuss about for wide slit. Okay, when the aperture is wide, the part of wavefront to which the central point on the screen exposed will contains a large number of half period zones. When the aperture is wide, the wavefront contains a large number of half period zones, and we know very well when there are n number or large number of half period zones, then the effective amplitude at any point will be A is equal to A1 minus A2 plus A3 minus A4 and so on, or half of the wavefront due to first half period zone. Okay, where A1, A2, A3 are amplitude of the first, second, third half period zones. Moreover, the wide aperture AB is equivalent to two parallel straight edges. One is passing through A and other is passing through B. The diffraction bands will be obtained parallel to the edge of the aperture, similar to the diffraction by a straight edge. The diffraction bands are unequally spaced, and beyond P and P dash, the intensity decreases repeatedly because this is the region of geometrically shadow. Okay. This is the intensity distribution for the wide slit. Here Q is the central point on the screen. Because slit is so wide, there is a general illumination around the central point. The intensity will depend upon the number of half period zones. If there are n number of half period zones, then amplitude will be half of the amplitude due to first half period zone, and the diffraction pattern will be obtained parallel to the edge of the aperture, edge of the slit. Okay, and beyond P and P dash, this is the geometrically shadow region, the intensity will be decreases repeatedly. For narrow slit, in case of narrow aperture, the intensity at Q will depend upon number of half period zone exposed. The intensity is maximum for odd number of half period zones. Okay, I will repeat. The intensity is maximum for odd number of half period zone and minimum for even number of half period zone. Suppose there is only one half period zone, then intensity will be A1 square, or amplitude will be A1. A1 is the amplitude due to first half period zone. If there are two half period zone, then total amplitude will be A1 minus A2, which is the condition for minima. Okay. If there are three half period zones, then effective amplitude will be A1 minus A2 plus A3, which is again condition for maxima. So if there are even number of half period zone, the point will be dark. If there are even number of half period zone, the point will be dark. And if there are odd number of half period zones, the point will be bright. Okay. At point O double dash, the most effective half period zones between O double dash and A are cut off. Okay, because O dash is obstructed by the aperture, obstructed by the slit. So if we consider the point O dash, O double dash, this is the cone, and we have to construct the half period zone around this cone. Then first, second, third, fourth, maybe many more half period zones may be obstructed by this obstacle. And we know very well the amplitude or intensity is decreases as we go from first to nth half period zone. So if first few half period zones are cut off, then intensity will be negligible. Okay, depending upon how many number of half period zones are cut off. So O double dash and A, if we are talking about this region, the most effective half period zones between O double dash and A are cut off, so there is no illumination at all. This is the intensity distribution for the narrow slit. At central point Q, the intensity will depend upon the number of half period zones exposed. And as we go from Q to P dash or P, means downward or upward on the screen, the intense amplitude of the maxima or minima goes on decreasing continuously. Next, if the slit is very narrow, if we have very narrow aperture of the slit, that is less than the order of one wavelength of the light, then less than one half period zone in each half of the wavefront is possible for the point Q on the screen. Okay, the aperture is such that we can construct half period zones less than one, even less than one. If there is only one half period zone, then there is no diffraction pattern. Okay, and the amplitude will be A1. And now here we are talking about the amplitude, the aperture width is such that less than one half period zone may be constructed. Then of course there is no diffraction pattern in the region of P dash Q double dash. Okay, in the geometrical shadow region beyond the P dash and Q double dash, there is number, if there is a number of half period zones may be more than one. Okay, that intensity depends there how many number of half period zones are present. Again, if there is even number of half period zone, the intensity will be minimum. If there is odd number of half period zone, the intensity will be maximum. Now the diffraction at circular aperture. Consider AB represent the small circular aperture and S is the source of monochromatic light having wavelength as lambda. To determine the light intensity due to diffraction pattern observed on the screen, we have to follow the following steps. The central point Q on the screen will be bright or dark, depends upon number of half period zones present. Okay, the alternate dark and bright fringes are found near the center in the region of light exposed, and in the geometrical shadow region the intensity falls to 0 repeatedly. Okay, in this case also the fringe pattern is observed in the central part or near the edge of the aperture, and beyond the illuminated area, illuminated region, means geometrical shadow region, the intensity falls off to 0 repeatedly. Okay, intensity distribution. Again, the intensity at central point will depend upon the number of half period zones on the illuminated part of AB of the wavefront. And in this case, not in this case, generally the number of half period zones depend on the distance between aperture and screen. In the first case, diffraction due to a rectangular slit, the distance between aperture and screen is fixed. Okay, and we have to vary the aperture width, slit width, wide, narrow, very narrow. Okay, in this case aperture is fixed. We have to vary the distance between aperture and screen, and the number of half period zone depends upon the distance between aperture and screen. Suppose small b is the distance between aperture and screen, and if b is such that only one half period zone can be constructed on the wavefront, the amplitude at Q will be A1. A1 is the amplitude due to first half period zone, which is maximum. And if two half period zones are present, then amplitude will be A1 minus A2, which is the condition for minima. If there are three half period zones, then amplitude will be A1 minus A2 plus A3, which is also a condition for maxima. Okay. And if wavefront contains a large number of half period zones, then again the resultant amplitude will be half of the amplitude due to first half period zone, means A1 by 2. Okay. Now at any other point P, which is away from center, the upper half wavefront will be cut off and intensity will be only due to the lower half wavefront. If first half period is cut off, then the intensity will be due to second, third and fourth, etc. half period zones. In general, if obstructed half period zones are odd, the intensity will be minimum. And if even number of half period zones are obstructed, the intensity will be maximum. This is the reverse case of exposed half period zone. In case of exposed half period zone, we know if odd number of half period zone are exposed, then intensity will be maximum. If even number of half period zone are exposed, intensity will be minimum. But in this case, the process is reversed. If there are even number of half period zones are obstructed, even number of half period zones are obstructed, then intensity will be maximum. And odd number of half period zones are obstructed, then intensity will be minimum. Okay. In case of large aperture, the bright and dark rings are visible only near the edge of the aperture, with uniform intensity around the center. Inside the region of geometrical shadow, the intensity falls off continuously until the darkness is reached. This is same as in case of rectangular slit. Okay. Only the center region is generally illuminated, and the fringe pattern is obtained only near about the edge of the aperture. Now next topic is analytic treatment for circular aperture. Analytical treatment of the diffraction at a circular aperture. First, we have to find the intensity at any axial point. For this, consider a source of monochromatic light having wavelength lambda, and R is the radius of the circular aperture AB, and O is the center of aperture, and Q is the any axial point on the screen. And first, A is the distance between aperture and source of light, and small b is the distance between screen and aperture. To find the position of maxima or minima, or at any point either this is maxima or minima, we have to find the part difference reaching at that point, part difference between the rays reaching at that point. Okay. In this case, we have to find the part difference between SAQ and SOQ. SAQ A1 SOQ. SAQ and SOQ. We have to find the part difference between these two rays. We have part difference is SA plus AQ minus SOQ. From the figure we can see clearly SA is equal to A square plus R square raised to power 1 by 2, and AQ is B square plus R square raised to power 1 by 2, and SOQ is A plus B. Okay, this represents the part difference. Now by taking the constant values outside the bracket, we have A into 1 plus A square, this is R square by a square raised to power 1 by 2. Similarly, b into 1 plus r square by b square raised to power 1 by 2 and minus a plus b. Now because r is very much less than a and b, r is the radius of the circular aperture. Okay, so r is much less than a and also much less than b. We have this ratio is less than 1. Also this ratio is less than 1. If this is less than 1, we can expand this binomially. Okay, by expanding binomially and ignoring the higher order terms. We have a into 1 plus r square by 2a square. Okay, similarly b into 1 plus r square by 2b square minus a plus b. Now multiplying this a and b inside the bracket, we have a plus r square by 2a plus b plus r square by 2b. Okay, minus a minus b, a and b will be cancel out. Finally we have r square by 2 is common, 1 by a plus 1 by b. Okay, yeah, this is the part difference. If there are n number of half period zones, okay, wavefront consisting the number of half period zones depending on the distance between aperture and screen means b. Okay, then b is such that wavefront consists of n number of half period zones. One half period zone create a part difference of lambda by 2. Then n number of half period zone create a part difference of n lambda by 2. Okay, if there are n number of half period zones, then this part difference is equal to n lambda by 2. 2 will be cancelled out and we have 1 by a plus 1 by b is equal to n lambda by r square. This is the equation for the part difference. Okay, if a is infinite, suppose a is infinite, the source of light is very far apart from the aperture. If a is infinite, then this term is equal to 0. Then we have 1 by b is equal to n lambda by r square. We can fix from here b for consisting n number of half period zone. Okay, if we want, there should be 5 number of half period zone, 5 half period zone, n should be 5. Then we can fix or we can find the value of b. Okay, now intensity at any non-axial point. Suppose P is any non-axial point on the screen, x distance apart from the point Q. Now we have to find the part difference between the ray AP and BP. Okay, now in this case part difference is BP minus AP. Okay, and from this figure we can see clearly a BP is equal to b square plus x plus r square raised to power 1 by 2. Okay, and AP is equal to b square plus x minus r. Okay, x minus r square. Now again taking the constant values outside the bracket, we have b into 1 plus x plus r square by b square raised to power 1 by 2. Okay. Similarly, in this case, we have minus b into 1 plus x minus r square by b square raised to power 1 by 2. Now again we can expand this binomially as x plus r is much less than b. Okay, x plus r is less than b, also x minus r is less than b, so we can expand both of these terms binomially. We have b into 1 plus x plus r square by 2b square. Okay, minus 1 plus x minus r square by 2b square. Now by multiplying the b inside the bracket, we have b plus x plus r square by 2b minus b minus x minus r square by 2b. Okay, b will be cancel out. 1 by 2b is 1 plus x plus r whole square minus x minus r whole square. By expanding both of these terms, we have 1 by 2b. This is x square plus r square plus 2xr. Okay, and this is x square plus r square minus 2xr. Inside signs will be changed out. This is minus and this will be plus. X square will be cancelled out, r square also cancel out, and finally we have 1 by 2b into 4xr. 4xr 2 will be cancelled out. Finally we have 1 by b into xr. Okay, finally we have part difference is 2xr by b. Okay, this is the part difference between AP and BP. Now again, if there are n number of half period element can be constructed, then part difference will be equal to n lambda by. Now if there are n number of half period zone, then part difference created by the n number of half period zone will be n lambda by 2. Okay, so we have to find the value of x is equal to n lambda b by 4r. Okay, if n is equal to 1, if there is only one half period zone, then we have x1 is equal to lambda b by 4. Okay, if n is equal to 1, x1 is equal to lambda b by 4r. Again we have, if n is odd number of half period zone, then the point P will be point of maxima. If there are even number of half period zone, then there will be a minimum. Okay, so this is condition for maxima, first maximum. Okay, if n is 2, then we have 2 lambda b by 4r. This is there n is even. This is the point of minima. Okay, at this point, this position, we find minimum intensity. Again, if n is equal to 3, okay, then we have 3 lambda b by 4r. N is odd. This is the position of maxima. At this point, at this position, we will find the maxima. And if x is equal to 4, then we have 4 lambda b by 4r. N is 4 means n is even. Again, we find minima. Okay, these are the positions of maxima and minima in case of non-axial point. Only we have to remember that if n is odd, there will be maxima, and if n is even, there will be minima.